It's time for the biggest clash in Paris. We have the world champion Domaraju Gukesh on the right of your screen. He gets ready with his red jacket perched on the top of his chair. Opposite him is the man in the white jacket. Who is he? Well, he's none other than Magnus Carlsen. Let's look at the freestyle position that we have on the board right now. We have two bishops in the corner. We then have the rook and Magnus enters. Handshake there. We have king, knight, rook, knight and queen. So that's the setup we have on the board. And sometimes it's a little tricky when you have these long diagonals on both sides. Which pawn to move? Do you want to play b4 activating this bishop, c4 activating this bishop, g4 activating the queen? A handshake between the players and we are ready to rock and roll. g4. Magnus did not even think for a bit. He opens up the queen and Gukesh goes g6. He also prevents the bishop from getting activated with b3 or b4. I love Magnus's next move, c4, and now he's trying to play against these two bishops. Gukesh long castles, but it's already a mistake. He should have played f5 trying for active counterplay, which is not at all an easy move. But the point now, the problem is Magnus gains space on the king side, firstly. He's also not allowing black to unravel here with b6 because this bishop is hanging. So he takes the pawn. He could have also pushed forward and take back. And now look at this move, c5. It looks weird because you are moving the pawn that has already moved again. The main reason is now look at these pieces. It's very difficult to activate them. The knight comes out and Magnus already has a very pleasant position. d6 trying to break free from this pawn, and it would be really nice because after takes b6 and trying to get that rolling would be very cool. Knight comes out to f3. The problem is, of course, if you take knight takes and b6, I have knight e6 as a fork, so that does not work. He goes knight c7 controlling this square and now threatening to take. He goes bishop c2. Wow. So if take, again we are looking for this activity. The main problem now is b3 and the queen is almost getting trapped in the corner. Insane. He goes knight to f6 and Magnus pushes his pawn forward. b4, queen g8, bishop b3 and the knight comes out to d5. And b5, unsettling the knight in the pin. It's quite incredible how quickly black's position has gone downhill. Rook g1 attacking the queen. Magnus has 5 minutes 46 seconds. Gukesh has 6 minutes 4 seconds. He goes queen e6 here. And now knight takes c5 is very powerful because it attacks the queen. He takes it. Where can the queen go actually? If queen d6, you already have bishop e5, an insane move. Take here. This is defended by the rook, so you can't do it. He goes queen h6, bishop g7. He loses material here. Rook is hanging, queen is hanging. It's so difficult to keep a track of this in freestyle chess. You want to play solidly, but the position is just so wild, and when facing a player like Magnus, it gets even more tough because Magnus has things under control. Knight d3 attacks the queen. He's going to pick up the rook next. Gukesh comes back with his queen to d6. Magnus now chops off the rook. Rook takes. Let's try to take stock after these exchanges. What all has happened? The net result, if you see, is that white is an exchange up, but black has a pawn there. 5 pawns versus 4. Queen g2. Knight comes out to e6. The queen comes to f2. Putting pressure here. And now the bishop comes out to c7. The idea is to put the bishop here on b6. And bishop takes knight. Queen takes and he chops off the pawn on a7. The bishop is hanging here. And it's very tough to find the move. He goes bishop b7. Magnus now makes a small inaccuracy, goes rook b1, allows Gukesh to push the pawn to c5. The queen now defends the bishop. Magnus comes back, accepting that he made a mistake. He's attacking the c5 pawn. He goes bishop d6. And king e1 is not a move that you make very happily. But, okay, is black making a small comeback in this game is the question. King comes up to c7. Slight error. Maybe king d8 was better, but king c7. And now there's this very classy move, knight g5. Because you are removing the defender of the c5 pawn. He finds it. You can't take here because of knight takes c5. And this is a big problem. What a beautiful move here found by Magnus Carlsen. Rook g8 played, trying to pin here. So if you take on e6, it's a check. You can take it actually. Knight e6 is a check. Magnus takes it. Knight takes e6. Queen takes e6. And the thing is, if you take on g8, I have queen g8 and then I'm threatening mate in 1 here. So you have to be slightly careful here. Maybe just move the rook away to f1. Well, he first takes on c5. He gives back the exchange. Bishop takes, queen takes, a check. And now white is just a pawn up. So, does Gukesh have some realistic chance to come back in the game? He comes back king d8. You can see the focus on Gukesh's face. He wants to make sure that he's able to, salvage this point. Because the last game was his first win at Freestyle Chess against Arjun Erigaisi. And he wants to keep this momentum going. Queen a5 check. King comes to e8. And here queen b5 check played. Well, you can't go here. Bishop c6 would mean queen b8 and it's game over with g8 hanging. So he goes king d8 and of course the rook is hanging here. And if you take, I still can't win the bishop because of checkmate. So he goes rook g3, a very interesting move. It's also nice to see how Magnus comes up with this very different ideas here at g3. And Gukesh, queen e4. This might really be the best position he's got after 3 moves in the game. We are on move 32 and Gukesh is fighting hard. Queen e5 played. Offering a trade of queens. And you don't want to be trading queens because that would lead to a lost endgame. So check king f2. But it's very tough to play here as black, especially against Magnus Carlsen, who is so good at endgames. Bishop comes out to e4. And Magnus, he wanted to make a move, then stopped in his tracks. He has to build this position up carefully here, Magnus. He gives a check. King comes up. Gives another check. King c6 and takes it. And I wouldn't be making an inaccurate statement here if I said the best queen endgame player in the world by far is Magnus Carlsen. There's no doubt about it. Look at this move. This is the show of a true understanding of queen endgame. The queen is centralized to look here, defend its own pawns. And I mean, this is just an incredible move. You can't teach someone such queen endgame. You just have to have the feel for centralization of pieces, where they belong. King d7. Magnus pushes his pawn to a4. And the a pawn is just literally running. So Gukesh, and one more thing which you have to notice is that the queen can't even go to the a1 square because the white queen controls it. That's real centralization there. Magnus pushes the pawn forward. A check comes in. He goes up king e3. And now another check. And do you want to pick up this pawn on e4? Yes, he does. And Gukesh takes the pawn on d2. Again, a check. Now, lot to learn from Magnus here. First check, king comes up, he gives another check, queen b5. Of course, king d8, you can't trade queens after queen d5. So you have to avoid the queen trades, which is now slightly tricky business for Gukesh. But there are spaces where the queens are not getting traded, especially on c7 and c8. Gukesh goes king c7. And black now, Magnus is thinking again where to go with his queen. Queen b6, okay. Because the e2 pawn is hanging king c8. A check again. King comes here, queen e8. So he managed to actually win the e7 pawn with this threat of trading the queens in between, and Gukesh has had to now move the king. He's going to lose the e7 pawn with a check. So now he's 2 pawns down. Check. I guess you could go king a6, but he goes back king a8. Now e2 and a5, both pawns are hanging. Magnus goes king f3, and he just basically says if queen a5, I'll go queen h7 and I'm winning. So he's ready to give up the a5 pawn. And so check here by Gukesh, and Magnus plays pawn to e3. A tough moment for Gukesh here, whether to take the pawn. He goes queen e1. I guess he's trying for some, like if you take on h7, queen f1, king e4, and then just there is a skewer here. So Magnus has to be careful. Queen e4 check. Again, centralizing the queen. Let's see which square he chooses. Queen e5 is the square that he likes. And one of the things about e5 square which is so beautiful is that it defends all 3 pawns here. a5, e3, g3. Pawn to e4, he pushes forward. And he did not get at all tempted but to win the h7 pawn. That's why Magnus is so good. He understands when to run for material, when not to. King f4 played. Check, sorry, queen e2. It's not a check. It's not a check. He wants to go queen g4 check perhaps. And now Magnus, I think he's going in with the king. He's going to g5. A nice move. Queen check. King h6 played. And now queen g7 check is a threat. He goes h4 trading. And Magnus gives another check. King a6. And the best move now is just to take g takes h4. And that is totally winning. He takes it. G takes h4 on the board. He goes queen f4 check. King h7. No more checks here for black. I mean, you could win this pawn, but there's queen g5 check and trading queens. So Gukesh resigns. Magnus beats the world champion. I think in freestyle chess, Magnus clearly the stronger player. They will meet again in Norway to play classical chess, which will be interesting to see. But for now, you can see how Gukesh is so keen to also pick Magnus's brain as to why this position became so bad for him right out of the opening. How exactly should he have played? I could say that this was one of the better positions for white in freestyle chess out of the opening. Black did have to be very careful. I loved Magnus's first move. I loved how he put both the black bishops out of business so soon. And I also am loving how both the players are here sitting and analyzing with each other. It's just very special to see. But for now, it's clear that Magnus is playing much stronger than Gukesh, at least in freestyle chess.